Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon from My Father's Place Radio. And today at My Father's Place this evening, we're having Vanilla Fudge. And we have Carmine. So welcome to our show.
Oh, how you doing?
What are you guys up to right now? I always like to get the current events.
Well, we just did this 4-day run. We did a Hippie Fest tour. We did some more shows. Went to Italy in September. And, just playing throughout the year. We started out the year with a cruise. And now we're January 8th, we're doing a show in Washington, D.C. for a charity on celebrate Elvis's birthday there with, I think, Buck from Blue Oyster Cult's going to come up and play some songs with us. And that's January 8th. And then the next thing after that is the cruise, the blues cruise, and a show in Florida, I think a day or two before that. It's like, sporadic, it's not like, we don't go on like a month-long tour anymore.
You don't do the grinding tours?
No, we don't do that no more. I mean, we're too old for that stuff,
Well, what was it like when you did the grinding tours? Was it like the whole thing that they tell, being in the buses and city to city and the whole schmear?
We never had buses in the old days. The last time we had a bus was in Europe in 2004, but we used to fly everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we fly, and they were booked in a way where you'd fly to a city, and then you drive 200 miles to the next city, and then drive. And like we used to rent these Lincoln Continentals, and they're big cars. And we'd all fit in there with a driver, and most of our luggage fit in the trunk. And then we had a truck. The roadies would drive the truck with the gear. And they would fly, we would fly, they would drive to wherever we were. They would leave a day or two before.
What were your favorite cities and places to play over all these years?
We used to go by when we were young, which cities had the best looking women. Florida, like Tampa, Miami, Texas, like San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Dallas, that kind of stuff, and of course Los Angeles, But
so basically, warmer climates where people can't hide behind coats.
Well, yeah, it's warmer climates, but for us, New York was always great. Long Island was tremendous all the time. Even now, Long Island is still great.
Are you from Long Island?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Oh, there you go. Oh, cool.
But I lived in Long Island. I lived in Oceanside. I had a house there for much of years, and I kept that house and turned it into a drum studio, where like Bobby Rondinelli went there and Joe Franco. They were students of mine.
Wow.
And and then I bought a house in Cold Spring Harbor.
Okay.
So I had 2 houses out here, and then I moved to LA, and then I decided to give up winter. And I was out there for 35 years, and my now wife, the radio chick, Leslie Gold,
I used to listen to her in New York all the time.
brought me back here.
Okay.
And we're both selling her house in Connecticut. We're selling my house in California, and we're going to move to Florida.
Oh, really? Okay.
I can't take the winters anymore. I mean, I got out of the winters in '75.
How has music changed for you from those early days to today?
Well, people don't buy records anymore. That's the main thing. It's all this. The internet killed everything. So.
Has that changed?
That's really the big change, as I've been doing the same kind of music, with Vanilla Fudge especially, we've always been the guys to do the rearrangements of songs, take and interpret songs differently, and with the other bands I had, King Kobra, Cactus, and all that, we had originals, but the audiences are, different now. It's all on the internet,
Is it easier to connect with fans now, or is it harder, or is it both?
Well, there are fans that you can connect with, but like I do the Facebook because everybody tells me I should do the Facebook. It's a pain in the ass. I don't answer the messages. Yeah, I just message you. I'm sorry, dude. I don't look at them. There's like hundreds of messages on there. I don't have time to sit around and answer messages on Facebook. So just like people send me links to YouTube's and, hey, check this out. I said, dude, you think I sit around on the computer all day and like I got time to look at this stuff? I'm busy. I'm doing stuff. I don't have time to sit around. Same thing with like people say, how do you find new music? I don't really find it unless somebody turns me on to it. I used to sit in my car and turn the radio on and find new music, but that doesn't happen anymore, you know?
Now, when you first started in the music business, what was it like? You know, what was the lightning moment for you that you know that started it all? That you said, I want to be a musician.
It was like when we recorded "You Keep Me Hanging On," and we were driving along, and I think it was not even driving yet. It was like you had to listen in your house in the days. They didn't have FM radios in the car, and I think it was WOR with Scott Muni.
Yep.
Used to play Vanilla Fudge's demo against like the Beatles, against the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, sort of like a rate the record, contest, and we'd win every night. You know,
That must have been awesome to feel. Yeah.
amazing. You know, and it's because that was our demo, and then Atlantic Records signed us. You know, and when we started getting airplay, like in WMCA.
The good guys.
The good guys, then we knew that something was happening. So the first time when Hanging On was released, they played it a little bit. But I heard it one time on the radio, and I said, wow, that's it, I made it, you know.
Now, do you remember being in a car?
Yeah, I was in a car.
And listening, and you go, hey, that's me. Do you remember who you were with?
Yeah, I was with this girlfriend I was cheating on my wife with at the time. Yeah, I was like 19 years old. I got married to get out of the draft. And when I ended up a 4F, I told my parents, I don't want to get married now. They said, oh, you're going to get married? They got 200 people coming. I said, oh, well. So 9 months later, I was annulled. But I had this beautiful girlfriend from Queens, and we were riding my 67 Chevy Super Sport 327.
Wow. Nice car.
Yeah, it was a nice car. I bought my cars when I was young. So I used the money for playing. I saved it. My first one was a 64 Chevy Super Sport 327 4-speed. I built it to the point where I blew the whole warranty. Put cams in it and fuelie heads from a Corvette and 411 rear, and it was fast. A big carburetor. It was fast. I used to call it Silver Cup. It was a silver Chevy. It was nice. Wish I had it now.
There's always eBay, I guess. Yeah. Were you a big car guy as a kid?
I'm still a car guy.
Still a car guy?
All my life.
Right.
I've had a lot of really cool cars in my life, you know.
Do you actually get under the hood and play with it?
I used to, but the cars today, you can't.
I know, it's all computers and
stuff. Especially, I got a Maserati now, and an oil change is $900.
So when you were driving around in the car, was there a time when you heard like somebody cover your song and you're like, wow?
Nobody covered our song.
I thought Bananarama did. Didn't Bananarama cover one of your songs?
Who's Bananarama?
Bananarama,
Bananarama?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
I'll double check.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
The only one I know, one of the covers, I did it with Rod.
Okay.
And the reason why we did it with Rod, because I was in the band. Rod said to me, man, I love what you guys did with Hanging On. I wish I would have done it. I said, let's do it.
Okay.
I said, we can do that arrangement. You sing it, and we can, use the excuse I'm in the band. So he said, all right. So we did it. And then he put this big orchestra part in the middle. It was awesome.
Wow.
But aside from that, there weren't really many covers of our songs, I found out recently that there was a cover of Take Me for a Little While by some, I forgot, this Royal Jesters, I think they were called. They were a black R&B group in 1970.
Oh, wow.
And the reason how I found out is in May, we were, Atlantic Records called us and said, we just got your song Take Me for a Little While was licensed by Kanye West to put in one of his songs. I said, really? So we found out, which I forgot the name of the song now, we found out what song it was, and we listened to it, and we heard a sample of Take Me for a Little While, same kind of vocal and everything, and it was great. And we figured, oh man, and we had a percentage of the downloads and all that because they sampled it, and they worked out a deal for an advance with Atlantic. And we figured, wow, we're gonna, be on the charts. We're on the charts again, and we're
that's
a lot of
cool.
money. And then a month later, they called us up and said, we just found out it's not your version of the song. I said, well, whose version is it? It's our arrangement. They said, it's something called the Royal Jesters. So I listened to the Royal Jesters on YouTube, and they ripped our arrangement exactly. the vocals were all the same, the bass and drum parts, the organ, everything. And it was done in 1970.
Wow. Wow.
And so those guys cut it, and don't know how Kanye West found it.
Yeah, especially because it was 1970.
I wish he would have done ours.
We can give him a call.
We would have made a lot of money. But yeah, there you go. So we got an Audi commercial instead, but we would have made more money with Kanye West.
Tell me a little bit about touring. Were there any other people that you co-lined with that you met, became friends with, or were inspired by?
Everybody.
Well, tell us, because I don't really.
I mean, Led Zeppelin. They opened up for us, and they ended up being equal bill, and then they surpassed us. But we were good friends with them. Deep Purple, same thing. They opened up for us, and then they surpassed us. Frank Zappa opened up for us. Sly opened up for us. Creedence opened up for us. Three Dog Night opened up for us. I mean, the list goes on and on.
What was it? What was it like being in the green room with these guys?
In the what?
And, in the ready room. Behind stage, getting ready for the concerts.
Well, we just nothing special.
Any song collaboration or
No, we just hang out. We did a lot of hotel wrecking kind of backstage. Just messing around because it's not like today where you have hospitality, they have all kinds of stuff, and they have dinners. You should just have a table with some stuff on it. We used to flip the tables over, throw the tables in the 50-gallon drum with all the ice and the sodas, and sometimes take that on a stage and throw it at somebody. It was all fun. It wasn't a developed business yet like it is now.
Did you ever play at My Father's Place, the original one back in downtown Rockford?
Not as a band. I played here doing a couple of clinics. I might have played here one time with this jazz rock thing I was doing called Astroport. It had Jeff Berlin in it and Ray Gomez, myself, and the keyboard player from Blood Rock, I think the band was.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if we played at My Father's Place. I know we played at like the Calderon Theater, and we played another venue like that in Manhattan. And both times, first time it was with I think it was Ginger Baker's Air Force and my band. Second time was John Entwistle and my band. So I think we might have played My Father's Place. You have to ask Epi.
Do you remember first meeting Epi? Vaguely,
only I used to come to My Father's Place to see different bands. I think now I can't even remember what bands I saw there. But I met Epi then, and it was always a cool little place to come to. When I was coming here, I was always in big bands. So I knew I'd never be playing there. But I used to go there just to hang out. And see some music and hopefully meet some chicks, young guys,
So for you, do you still write music? Do you still create music?
Oh, yeah. I just did an album with my brother.
What's it called?
It's called Sinister. But Appice is the title of it instead of Peace Brothers. And we wrote a bunch of songs for that, and we'll probably do another one, so we're getting some songs ready for that.
All right, maybe you'll come to the station. We'll debut the album for you.
I can do that. Yeah. And I'm working with a young band that, there's that Greta Van Fleet does Led Zeppelin. My young band sounds like Van Halen.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
And they're really good. The guitar player just turned 17.
Wow.
And he's awesome. And the whole band, they're brothers, just like the Van Halen brothers, drums and guitar.
Alex and Eddie, yeah.
Yeah, so...
and you have Wolf, so you got the whole family.
I'm co-managing them and co-producing them. I'm mostly producing them. I got an engineer that's working with me, but they sound great. We're going to get them a good deal. And then they're going to go out. Epi said we can maybe we'll do a record release party here.
It'll be great, and I'll do something on my set.
Yeah,
we'll do something.
Maybe they can do an acoustic set,
Well, if we want, we could arrange something. You have my card. We could do something at the station and do a whole thing. So I have an hour show.
Yeah, and then these guys might be a little loud for the room, but if they do acoustically, that could work.
I assume that having been such a veteran of so many years of music and music changes, you could actually manage and produce people in a way that other people couldn't today.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first thing I like analog. And so I always end up, even if we start with Pro Tools, we always end up on analog. to mix it and stuff because it sounds better.
Everyone says that. It's funny. I talked to all these people here, all the sound people, and everyone talks about analog. Everyone. I mean, even though we're in the digital age and, the MP3 and the wave and the whole
The old
bit.
records sound so good. And the new records, there's no dynamics. I mean, it starts just like that, just straight. There's no dynamics. Even when it goes down, it's still, they keep the volume up because of the way it's recorded, the digital way, but I like analog.
Do you remember the first record you ever bought or listened to? The first 45?
I never had 45. My first record was a Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich drum battle record. That was my first record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, most people think, it's the Beatles. I never liked the Beatles.
Especially because you beat them in the contest each week.
Well, I liked them when I started doing Revolver. That's when I started liking it. But before that, it just seemed to me to be a teeny bopper band that, couldn't play that good, And I was playing, like R&B with horns and, really intricate R&B with James Brown stuff and, all the Atlantic sax stuff. So the Beatles, when they came out with She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, I was going, oh, man, this stuff is terrible. I appreciate it now more as a songwriter and the harmonies they do. And the fact that what they've done, after they became so big, you had to look back and say, why? And so if you do your research, you hear the great songs, But there were some songs that stood out in those days, like Day Tripper. It's one of them. Strawberry Fields, 66 was great, and Sgt. Pepper was great, and Master Mystery Tour, and the Black Album, Let It Be. After that, there's just countless songs, and they have so many hits. It's unbelievable.
So as a songwriter, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Well, I'm not like a proficient keyboard, guitar, or bass player. So, I just mess around. When I say, I'm going to mess around. I have an iPad now that has GarageBand. I've written a bunch of songs on there that have made it to records already, so when I just got to be in the mood to sit down and mess around. I come up with an idea and I record it, and then once I record different chords, and then I'll sing melodies to it, it comes from different places. Like when one of the songs on my album with my brothers, it's called Brothers and Drums. And we had a track that I think it was Doug Pinnick from King's X said he would write the lyrics and do the vocal. And then we were getting down, ready to, we needed to finish. And so he didn't come, he never finished it or got to it. So I said, oh, shit, I got to finish this song. So I started listening to it. And something hit me where it just said, I started singing Brothers in Drums. We're the Brothers in Drums. And I said, oh, wow, that's a cool chorus. So there was the like, whoa, 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 we're brothers in drums, like that. I started singing it. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. So this song could be about growing up in Brooklyn with Vinny and how I was playing. So it's like, so I just started writing lyrics and melody, like it started in Brooklyn, way down on 41st Street where we lived. It was me and my family trying to figure what we want to be. There was no little Vinny when I started to play, and then I couldn't believe when I heard my brother say he loved the drums like I do, and now we're playing for you, and they were Brothers in Drums. The next one, I left the drum set at home, and Vinny's got talent, worked his fingers to the bone. My mother says he's driving me crazy like you used to do. So that's all in the song, so it depends where the song comes from,
Do you still carry Brooklyn?
I don't write a lot of lyrics, I might write a chorus, but I'm not like a lyric writer. I'm more of an arrangement music writer,
Has it always been the case, or has your craft evolved?
Yeah, it's always been the case. I mean, my first song I ever wrote was Faceless People on the Vanilla Fudge album. I wrote it on organ. So I had theory and harmony in high school, so I learned how to build chords. And I wrote it and I sang, so I wrote these silly lyrics, and it was about being on the road, meeting all these people, I don't know who they are. They're all faceless people,
Yeah.
But it didn't really have a chorus, and I look at it now. I should have had a chorus. And there was another one I wrote called Where's Happiness? On the next album.
These are profound questions. It's a profound question.
Yeah, and then Mark had a chorus, so we put the two together, And that was my second song. And with BBA, I wrote one complete song with the chorus and everything, and I shared it with everybody. And with Cactus, we shared songs. Restrictions, I was playing on the organ, and Rusty Day started singing, and we wrote the song called Restrictions. So it comes from all different places. I never, ever start with a drum groove. Never starts with a drum groove.
What from Brooklyn do you still carry with you today?
My accent. and my attitude to just achieve goals, I guess.
So what was it like growing up?
Huh?
What was it like growing up? A lot of family, good food?
What was it like growing up? Oh, it was a typical Italian family in Brooklyn. It was a melting pot. There was Puerto Ricans, Polish people, Jewish people.
My grandmother was from Brooklyn, from Bensonhurst.
Yeah, and we said, we had different friends that were different nationalities. We all hung out together, and we had some gangs. You had to be in a gang to survive there. And it was good. Every Thursday and Sunday we'd have pasta or macaroni and sauce. They used to call it back then. Macaroni and gravy.
Right, gravy, exactly. It has to be gravy.
Not even sauce. And then as I started traveling on the road, everybody started calling it pasta. Okay, pasta, so it was good, it taught you to survive in Brooklyn.
Absolutely. So how did the band form way back when?
Vanilla Fudge?
Yeah.
Well, they had the band Pigeons before I joined, and they did an album for somebody, and it was a mediocre album. And the Rascals were happening, and the Vagrants were happening, and they wanted to do more of production numbers, as we called it, and with lots of vocals and symphonic overtones. And the drummer they had didn't sing, and they didn't really have the chops to do it. So he left, and I was playing in New Jersey, and Mark and Timmy came in. They said, "We heard about you. You have a good foot, and you sing, and you have good chops, and you're classically trained. So we want to do this thing. We want to try and make it." And we have a manager in Long Island, that Phil Basile, that was owned the Action House, and he wants to put us on a salary so we can create, our whole musical thing, not have to worry about money. I said, wow. I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm already making money. I'm making more than that playing my gigs. It wasn't every week, but, I had a band I was playing. And it was a matter of, leaving the guys I've been with and trusting with to go with these guys. I don't even know them. No. So they said, why don't you come out and listen, let's play together, let's see if it works. So I went out to the Action House, and I ended up meeting Phil. I knew Phil because I played the Action House when it was called the Shell House. Oh. I played there 4 weekends, and the second 2 weekends he took over. And I was saying, what, man, would the Mafia take over here? These guys are like rough looking, I was afraid to go in and get paid, And then Phil ended up being my manager and one of my best friends, And, so I went out and played with them, and they were awesome. Mark's voice was amazing. A great keyboard player. I never really played with a bass player. There was Tim Bogert. He was amazing. And Vinny was a really good guitar player. And he sang, and before I know it, it was like 4-part harmony, and everybody had the same kind of vibrato. And it was like awesome, And we all liked the Rascals at the time.
Right.
And I used to know, I went to see the Rascals before they were really big in clubs in New York. I knew Dino and I used to go see him, and I loved him. So, and they loved him too. So between the inspiration of the Rascals and the Vagrants, and then we started playing this stuff. And then when we played Rhode Island, we had a gig. We played there for 5 weeks. That's when we really got into the arrangements and really started our repertoire. And we stayed in the house all together, so we were like living together. That's when we started playing the Revolver album all the time, smoking pot and having a good time. And we put all our music together then.
Wow. So it's getting a little louder here, but any reflections that you want to share with people that you maybe not have discussed?
Well, I think the best reflection would be to go check out my book, Stick It, My Life of Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. It has all the stories in there.
Oh, I love that. All right, I'll have to get that.
All the bands. We sell it here tonight.
All right, cool. I'm actually going to get a copy.
You got to get a copy. And Mark has his book. My book's different. Mark's book is sort of like a historical viewpoint of the era.
Okay.
My book is my stories.
Right, so it's your memoir. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because Mark really, Mark played with Vanilla Fudge, Tommy Bolin, and Dave Mason, and sort of stopped in '75. My career was just starting in '75 with Rod Stewart, and then Ozzy and Ted Nugent, and Pink Floyd, and Stanley Clarke and Paul Stanley. It gets on and on. So everything's in there. It's all in there.
You have a website or a place where people can find this stuff?
Yeah, CarmineAppice.com, Facebook, Carmine Appice, official Carmine Appice, Twitter, Carmine Appice 1, Instagram, Carmine Appice. Yeah, I'm all over it.
All right, cool. All right, so thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.